Hey, so welcome to the loft. And yes, controversial topic. Should we be having children? And what are humans good for anyway? And isn't the world better off without all of us? So, overview of what we're going to talk about. And it'll be a fun ride, even though it's a kind of serious topic. So, we'll address this overpopulation issue. Is overpopulation an issue that is real? And what are humans good for? And will help us understand if we should be having children, and then leading on from what humans are good for, what are humans good at, and would the world actually be better off without us? Finally leading to a conclusive answer to the question, should we be having children or not? So then, the narrative goes that there's all kinds of... The narrative goes that my remote is not working.
No, this one. No, it's back. There it is.
Oh, nice. Okay. My computer is going slow. All right. Narrative goes that there's all kinds of wars happening all over the world, and innocent animals are being slaughtered. Billions of animals are being slaughtered every year unnecessarily, and there's horrible pollution in the world, and as a result, of course, there's climate change, and sea ice is melting. Meanwhile, there's world hunger everywhere. Over 9 million people each year die of hunger, and about 5 million die of obesity. So, with all of this bad stuff happening in the world, should we really be having more of those? Make the problem worse? And there's even an organization dedicated to humans going extinct, the Voluntary Human Extinction aiming that they're trying to get everyone to not have children, and therefore humans eventually will become extinct. Problem solved. World's a better place. No more war, no more people dying of starvation because there's no people, and so on. No more humans killing animals unnecessarily because there's no humans. So they are giving this propaganda that humans should voluntarily make themselves extinct. And if you look at statistics on how many children people are having in various countries, here is from the most children, this number of children per woman, and being about half the population are female. New Zealand, right in the middle, at 2, is perfectly sustaining its population. But some countries, mostly developing countries, are having far more children, and some countries are having far less. Anyone here from Germany? Yes, one from Germany. Germany is dying out, and so is China, Spain, and Taiwan. Even though some people don't consider it a country, is really dying out. Soon it won't be a country anymore, because no one's having children in Taiwan, practically speaking. And many are only having one child, not replacing the population. And even if you ask world leaders like Bill Gates, what's causing climate change? What's the main cause of climate change? And his equation is people times services per person times energy times CO2 per energy. So yes, you can have more efficiency, you can reduce the energy that you need, but if you eliminate the people, you get less CO2. So Bill Gates is all about reducing world population. People are the problem. So is it just people, or is it all people? Are all people equal in this, causing all these bad effects onto the world? Well, if you look into Bhagavad Gita, the ancient yoga text that we study here, it says, in the first chapter, an increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and welfare activities are devastated. So even this ancient yoga text is saying that an increase in unwanted population causes so much havoc in the world, destroying all kinds of social welfare activity, destroying the functioning nature of society. Though I'll come back to this unwanted population. which seems to imply that there is a wanted population that might have a different effect, but we'll get back to that. So, all of this leads us to the question, should we be having children? And to answer that question, we need to ask another question, which is, okay, but what are humans actually good for? If we have children, and they're good for something, then maybe having children is not so bad. But what are children actually good for? So that's a question we should be answering. And to answer that question, we should ask what are humans actually good at? Because every creature on the planet is really good at something, and if you study what something is really good at, you kind of understand what it's for. Generally, what we're good at is what we're good for. So, let's do an exercise together. What is this creature good at? Anyone? Come on, easy. Warm up problem. What's the cat good at? Yes. Well done. Okay. What is the bee good at? Pollinating. Yeah, the bees don't spend most of their time stinging. It's more pollinating plants. so yeah. Good answer. Okay. What are pigs good at? Okay. Has this thing stopped working again? Ah, yes, it has. There we go. Yes. What are pigs good at? Eating pretty much anything. Yes, so they are very good at garbage disposal. If we didn't have trucks and factories and things that destroy garbage, feed them to pigs. Pigs are very happy to oblige. And anyone know what this is? Mushroom? What is it? It's called Surfula lacrymans, the dry rot fungus. It's the fungus that decomposes wood. So when a tree falls over in the forest, you wait a couple of years, the tree's gone. Where's it gone? This fungus has eaten it, has decomposed the fungus, returned it into the soil, and fed all kinds of living microbes in the soil that can produce new plants and new life. So without this fungus, forests wouldn't recycle themselves as well as they do. So this fungus is extremely important and extremely good at decomposing wood, and therefore what it's for is for decomposing wood, so that forests can live. So, if we ask the question, what are humans good at? What do you think? What are humans good at?
Destroying their own habitat.
It's destroying it. Okay, well, what ideally are humans good at? Anyway.
We are warlike creatures, but we are also good at
Not destroying ourselves? Okay. Anything else?
Being creative.
Creative?
Inventing,
Yeah. Inventing things?
Yeah.
What quality of humans allows us to do that?
Logical brain, I guess.
Logical brain? Okay. Anyone else? What are humans good at?
making babies.
Oh, well, there's creatures that are much better than humans at that. Yeah.
Materialism.
Materialism? Anything else? Yeah. Sharing? Okay. Yeah, we're good at lots of things. Someone mentioned logical brain. Well, some humans are good at logical brain.
I'd love to see.
Others, not so much. Or like these guys. Some humans, a subsection of humans, shall we say, are good at logical thinking. Okay, so, what are humans good at?
Good at knowing what we should be doing.
Knowing what we should be doing? That's another one. Alright, let's look at this in some more detail. What are humans good at? And let's find some. I'll share some things that no one's mentioned that humans are really good at, that other animals and creatures are. The few things that humans are the best in the world at, meaning no other animal can do these things as well as humans.
Talking to a higher power.
Yeah, higher power.
Meditation.
Yeah.
Prayer and meditation.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But first, some things that you might not expect. Here's one example.
Developers. Yes!
This is former CEO of Microsoft, Steve Ballmer. Extremely embarrassing. But displaying one quality that humans are really good at, which is, play a short video to explain.
That's their stamina regeneration. Humans can chase down anything. You try to run from a human, you might outspeed them initially, but you'll run out of stamina much sooner than they will, and they'll catch up to you while you're in your weakened state. This is partially because of their superior balance again, but mostly it's because of the human build's unique choice to not spec into fur. This gives them access to the extremely broken ability Sweat. Every other current build that's decent at distance running recharges stamina by using the move Pant. This works great, but it does require the user to stop running. Sweat, on the other hand, works better while moving, massively extending the distance a human player can run.
So yes, we can sweat because we don't have fur, which nearly every other animal that's good at running has fur and can't run as well as far as humans. Who do you think is going to win in this race? Most people thinking the horse. You think it depends on the distance? Yes, it very much depends on the distance. Because obviously, on short distance, a horse is much faster than a human. But when you stretch a distance out, the human's ability to sweat and to regenerate their stamina starts taking effect, and humans have a good chance. In 1974, there was a famous horse race called the Western States Horse Race in the United States that was 160 kilometers long, 100-mile race. And this guy, Gordy Ansley, the guy on the left, Gordy Ansley was competing, but his horse got sick and couldn't run. And the organizers offered him, hey, do you just want to run yourself in place of your horse? And at first thought it was a joke, but then, sure, I'll give it a go, might as well. Trained for a bit and competed, and finished the race in 23 hours, which blew everyone away, and more people started competing, running, and pretty soon people were beating the horses. And now Western States is a famous ultramarathon that no more horses, because the horses don't have a chance against the human competitors. The record is 16 hours to run the 160 kilometers. So humans, best distance runners on the planet. Here's a short video of various runners in the Western States Marathon.
I suppose the first people that run 100-mile races just wanted to prove that it could be done.
Anyone can do this event or any 100-mile event if you're willing to put the work in, the time in, and if you keep your body well and strong enough, you can do it.
Good. Let's work on striking distance. Keep it up.
All right.
I'll see that forest go.
Okay.
So when you run an ultra marathon, there are times when you can convince yourself that you can't go on, and what you find is that if you continue, that changes.
Women typically don't have the muscle mass and quite often don't have the speed, but women take better care of themselves out there, and you can see that later on in some of these races in the heat. The men who have gone out very quickly in the beginning will be starting to fall back, and the women catch up very fast. So there are advantages and disadvantages, and we all play up whatever we're strongest at. I think everyone goes into every race with a different idea of what they're racing against. In some races, it will be the other person. In other cases, it's completely racing against my own demons and what do I have to deal with before the finish line.
And as night falls, the man who led the pack all along crosses the finish line. 16 hours, 12 minutes, and 16 seconds after he began his test. A well-deserved victory for Hal Corner. Beverly Anderson Abs finishes 13th overall, first in her division.
One thing with ultra running is it allows you to recognize that you can do things that you might otherwise think you couldn't. I love it.
All right, so sweat and stamina. One thing that humans have above everyone else. Okay, let's try the next one. Here is an experiment. I'd like a volunteer. It won't be dangerous. One volunteer. Okay, come on. Please take this jar and open it and tell everyone what's inside.
It's like a sultan or a raisin.
A raisin,
Yeah.
yes. Could you please attempt to eat the raisin? Wow, did everyone see that? That's a round of applause. Yeah. Yeah. Eating. Humans, you're thinking, what's he talking about? Eating. Every creature eats something. Well, let's lead into this. So, how many cells in the average human body? Hard to guess, but the answer is 20 trillion cells. I really don't know what's... Oh yeah, the computer is dying on me. Just give it a moment. So, give away my... Alright, 20 trillion cells in the human body. But inside our digestion system is 100 trillion cells of bacteria that are not part of our body, have different DNA to us, but live as parasites inside our digestion system, and they're not there by accident. They, without those bacteria, we could not nearly digest as well as we can. We spend most of our time having chronic fatigue after eating, just lying there, not being able to do anything. These bacteria pre-digest, post-digest, extract extra energy from things that we can't digest ourselves, and return that to the body. It's a symbiotic relationship between the human, the 20 trillion human cells, and the 100 trillion foreign bacteria inside our digestion system. A full 2 kg of our body weight, because bacteria is smaller than human cell tissue. 2 kg of our body weight is this bacteria inhabiting our digestion system, helping us digest. And as a result of this bacteria that we've carefully cultivated over so many millions of years, we can spend more time doing other stuff. Herbivore animals, typically like cows, spend most of the time eating. They spend all day eating, practically. And carnivore animals, like cats, spend most of their time sleeping because they're conserving energy. They don't have the energy to go running around doing stuff like humans do. Where humans can spend most of their time not eating or sleeping, doing useful, productive stuff, building things, or contemplating things, thinking about the nature of reality and life. So, because we can eat raisins and other things extremely well, like our courageous volunteer has demonstrated, we have the ability to become amazing philosophers, amazing crafts people, and figure out so many truths about the world. And no other creature can do this as well as humans. All right, ready for another one? I need another volunteer. This one's even easier than the last one, I think. Anyone? You again? Okay. Here, take this sheet of paper and please open it and read aloud what it says there.
Some look on the spiritual consciousness as amazing, some describe it as amazing, and some hear of it as amazing, while others, even after hearing about it, cannot understand it at all.
Thank you. Yeah. That deserves another round of applause. So, that was a verse from Bhagavad Gita, describing the spiritual consciousness and how it bewilders some people. But ability to speak and read and transmit knowledge to a group of people, that's something that very few other species can do. Not entirely unique to humans, but humans are the best in the world at speaking and transmitting knowledge. Scientists can analyze the information content in speech or any kind of signal that is transmitted, and there's various astrological phenomena. And -1 in terms of the Zipf's slope value, the scientific measure of how you can, without understanding the content of a signal, understand how much information it's transmitting. So -1 is the maximum amount of information transmitted, and there's various things, but monkeys, squids, and so on. Squirrels, they kind of chirp around, but don't transmit any actual useful information. But if you zoom in and look at the top speakers, humpback whales, pretty good. Dolphins, it's infant, D is teenager, and A is adult. So adult dolphins are very close to the maximum amount of information. Dolphins have incredible speech with all kinds of grammar to it, and their speech is almost as sophisticated as a human language. Dolphins are probably the most intelligent creature on the planet, besides humans, certainly in terms of their speech, but also in terms of their behavior. Dolphins will commit suicide when captured because they can't stand being in captivity. They'll drown themselves. Dolphins can fight a shark, even though a shark is faster, stronger, deadlier. A dolphin can outsmart the shark underwater, circle around and kill the shark. So dolphins, incredible creatures. Humans and infant dolphins, baby dolphins, just as comprehensible as baby humans in terms of their speech. But adult humans have a little bit more sophisticated speech than dolphins, and can use the speech as our courageous volunteer demonstrated, to transmit knowledge of higher spiritual topics. For example, anyone heard of Russell Brand, famous British comedian, spiritualist? He speaks really fast, but he transmits and uses lots of complicated words, but he transmits spiritual knowledge very effectively. Like, here's a clip of him speaking.
But I think if people have some sort of yearning or dissatisfaction or some itchy irritability, then it might be because they're not looking in the right direction for a solution, and that they should look within, and that within them there is a limitless, infinite capacity for bliss through connection to higher things.
Oops, I cut him off. Sorry.
But I think if people have some sort of yearning or dissatisfaction or some itchy irritability, then it might be because they're not looking in the right direction for a solution, and that they should look within, and that within them there is a limitless, infinite capacity for bliss through connection to higher things. As long as you're looking for happiness for yourself, you're never going to be. So I'd take on some sort of mild form of yoga and be loving and accepting of yourself, and not be sort of comparative or like not use it as a reference. I don't think there's anything else. Try the option, unless you're alright. Unless I do meet some people that they seem alright with it. They kind of are living in a material world and I'm a material girl. Some people dig it, but for me, it's like I sense always. No one gave me grammar or the information or the grid. Like no one said. Because if you grew up in Essex, in England, no one's going to say to you, this is an illusion, don't try and... But people just say to you a version of get a job, be good at football, be good at fighting. People won't tell you that stuff is not going to work. So cumulatively, the more people have access to this vital information, the better society will be. What's all that information, the idea that when they have people meditating, crime drops, not just for the individual, but for the community also, because of that interconnection. I don't think people should be excluded because they're bourgeois, but I think you're right, there's certain communities or nations or cultures that probably don't have as direct access to some of these ideas. And I suppose that we must make this information, this technology, these techniques, these ideas accessible, because they work better than a lot of things we're trying instead. That's my experience. I really could try drugs, I really tried sex, I really tried all those things, and they do not work. So try this. If someone gave me this information when I was 5, we've been alright, and then again at 10, then again at 15. If it was part of normal life, the same way is normal life to, hey, try cigarettes, or hey, try booze, or these ideas are more accessible than the actual solution. And I greeted every one of them false messiahs with open arms, and again gave them opportunity after opportunity. And things that actually work, you sort of treat them, you sort of shirk them off as if, like, you know, as if you owe them money. And you don't, well, no, I've got to avoid yoga and meditation. They've been portrayed quite brilliantly by the mainstream as sort of somehow luxury. They're into luxury, or artificial, or superficial. It's absolutely integral. It's absolutely the most authentic thing, more real than any of them.
Alright, so he's using intelligence to very quickly transmit a whole bunch of stream of consciousness narration as he does, and yeah, he makes a lot of sense. It's very popular. So he's using his intelligence and ability to speak, which, just like dolphins, humans are extremely good at. So, this leads us to the question of what benefits do we offer the world through our abilities. We can use our speech and we can use our intelligence and speech to introspect, to think about things deeply, and to come to profound conclusions, and we can use our stamina and combined with the intelligence to have a degree of stewardship on the world, where we can, let me give you an example of this place. The picture on the right is Singing Frogs Farm in California, which is an organic farm that has 7 harvests a year and produces $100,000 of revenue per acre, which is unheard of in the farming community. A normal farm produces maybe it's like 2 or 3 harvests and $10,000 per acre. So this is an extremely productive farm that they plant 100 different varieties of crops. They have hedgerows between the farming beds that have habitat to hundreds of species of animals, and they have 4 feet of topsoil in their gardens. Most farms only have 1 foot of topsoil. So the farm, in spite of the farm supporting the humans in the farm, supporting species of animals, providing habitats for animals, improving the soil, and producing profit at the same time as it's protecting the environment from the farm floods regularly, but all the planting that the people have done protects the soil from being washed away. So this farm, far from being a burden on the world, is actually improving the ecosystem. It's how can I say? It's a net benefit to the world. So you think, oh yeah, humans are destroying the world. No, humans effectively using their intelligence can improve the world, can provide benefit to all creatures on the world, can help the plants, can help the animals, can help the trees, and can help other humans, while also making a profit and being competitive, all at once, which is pretty incredible. And of course they are offering tours to their farm, teaching other people how to farm in this way. And if everyone farmed in that way, world hunger wouldn't be a problem, because this farm produces more food than traditional farm. And climate change wouldn't be a problem, because the farm actually reduces climate change in its operation. So if humans can do that with proper intelligence, then, well, first of all, why aren't we? Because not all humans are this smart. But humans' abilities, humans' potential to offer the world is quite something, materially. And in the case of introspection inevitably leads to spiritual realization. Any field of science, any field of sport or art, the ultimate conclusion that people that have truly perfected their craft or their art come to is that there is something more than just this matter, this body. Everyone comes to this conclusion. Any top scientist will tell you that there is intelligence behind the universe. Any top mathematician will tell you that mathematics shows that there are things beyond mathematics that mathematics cannot compute, and that there must be some consciousness beyond mathematics. Any athlete will tell you, like any of those ultramarathon runners running 160 kilometers, tell you that it's not the body. The body has given up at the first marathon, at the first 40 kilometers, not the 160. Something else that's driving, that's animating that body beyond just the physical matter. So this, and then the conclusion of the stewardship is that humans are meant to serve, meant for service to other creatures. So let's dive into the spiritual realization a little bit as the first topic. So why is it important to introspect and to come to this spiritual realization? First of all, it provides some reason, some goal, some meaning to life. Otherwise, it's just work, buy, consume, die. That's not inspiring to anyone. And it provides happiness in the family. Gives a reason to avoid the temptations of drugs and alcohol, and gives a reason to take care of oneself mentally and physically. And provides a meaningful basis for relationships. Without any kind of spiritual realization, a relationship just becomes, can you make me happy? No. Goodbye. Next one. Can you make me happy? No. Goodbye. Repeat. And what's the first spiritual realization that people can come to? It is known as I am spirit, or Aham Brahmasmi in Sanskrit. This is the first spiritual realization, the very baby steps in spiritual realization that people can have. And it's fairly easy to come by. Most people, of course, don't go there. So the conclusion of this realization is that you might have a body that you take care of nicely, but you are not the body. Therefore, trying to make the body happy, just like trying to make the body happy won't make the spirit, the person inside, happy. Just like you might have clothes that you wash very nicely and iron nicely, take perfect care of the clothes. Is that going to make you happy? You have this perfectly ironed shirt. Yes, this is supreme happiness. This is the perfection of my life. No, you need something more than just a nicely ironed shirt. Similarly, we might not have a nicely ironed body, but we need something more, something outside of matter to make our body happy. Taking this realization one step further, we look into Bhagavad Gita, which explains that, here's from the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it says that the humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmana, a spiritual intellectual, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. So, you can see, because we are spirit, because we are not our physical body, it doesn't matter what our physical body is. It can be a cow, it can be an intellectual human, it can be an elephant, it can be a dog, it can be a human that eats dogs, it can be whatever. You treat them all with respect. You treat them all equally. You don't unnecessarily kill the cows, you don't unnecessarily kill the humans. It's a consequence of understanding that I am spirit. This very first spiritual realization. And of course, if more people had this realization, much of the problems in the world would go away. Like, if the shooter in Christchurch would have understood this, he wouldn't have mistakenly thought that because there is some slight difference in skin color, he is superior and has the right to murder other people. If you understand that you're a spirit, then no, the person with other skin color is spirit, just like you shouldn't kill them. Kind of obvious, but a lot of people don't realize. And similarly, many people, in exactly the same way, don't realize that just because the cow has a slightly different body to you, doesn't mean that you should murder billions of cows every year and eat them. No, they have a right to life, just like everyone has. So, the same spiritual realization leads to profound change in human society, if people understand it. So that's the benefit of spiritual realization. So then, to this question of should we be having children? By introspection, we can understand that we are spiritual beings, and that helps us be better stewards of the world. We can serve the world better, and It's the nature, it's in our very nature to serve other beings. And not just in our nature. Every species, like we started with, on the planet, the cat that protects the world from overpopulation of mice, the bee that pollinates plants, the fungus that decomposes the forest, trees that fall over, everything serves some purpose, serves some higher purpose. For example, anyone here have a dog? Or had a dog? Yes. You know that the dog is really eager to serve its master. The dog will do anything for you. If you're the dog's master, the dog is salivating to help you do whatever you want the dog to do. Similarly, the dolphins are also really good at helping people. There are so many stories of dolphins protecting divers that get attacked by sharks, or protecting other creatures, helping someone that's hit themselves in the head and fallen into the water, help them survive. Dolphins are really good at helping people, and quite friendly to humans. Just like the bee is trying to help people help all species by pollinating plants, unless it's being killed by Roundup. Roundup's proven to. Bees are dying all over the world, and the weed killer Monsanto makes called Roundup is the major cause of bees dying. Anyway, so just a bit of throwing that in there. So all creatures have some service to do. Similarly, humans can serve their environment, and traditionally speaking, humans, female humans, tend to find a lot of fulfillment in serving children, in helping look after children and nurture them as they grow up. And similarly, traditionally speaking, male humans tend to find a lot of fulfillment in looking after a family, in providing for a family, wife and child, and doing responsible work to bring in some income to support the dependents. If male humans don't have that kind of opportunity for service, they tend to get quite depressed or go into crime or don't feel that their life is complete. So this meaningful work and service is something profoundly built into us, built into our bodies, and built into our very natures as spiritual beings. And then if you look at the most perfect service that humans can do, which is, somewhat surprisingly, this spiritual realization. Because spiritual practice can transform humans who might not care about serving anything apart from themselves into humans that care deeply about all these issues and serve their children, serve their families, serve their environment, serve the climate, serve other animals around the world, and can teach others to do similarly. Sure, some people without any kind of spiritual realization will naturally want to join Greenpeace and help climate change. But the spiritual realization can lead someone that's not at all inclined to do any of these things, to devote themselves to helping other people and other spiritual beings all over the world. At the same time, spiritual realization can provide true happiness that's not dependent on circumstances. So many people I'll be happy if I get the boyfriend, girlfriend. I'll be happy if I get a new car that destroys the environment. I'll be happy if I get the tasty, juicy piece of meat. But spiritual realization can give happiness that is not dependent on circumstances. It is just happiness that comes on its own accord as a consequence of relationship to the Supreme Consciousness. So in that consciousness, suddenly one doesn't have to buy things, one doesn't have to exploit things, one can get happiness just in relationship, just by meditation, just in relationship to the Supreme, without without needing external causes, which always come to an end and always have some side effect or consequence. And therefore can be, with the spiritual realization, people can be the true environmentalists and supporters of the world. So I'd like to finish with 2 quotes from Bhagavad Gita that explain this. First, Krishna describing a perfectly spiritually realized person and how they do good in the world. Krishna said, "One who is not envious, but is a kind friend to all living beings, who does not think himself an owner, and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, with mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee is very dear to me." Yes, these kind of humans can improve everything around them and use their stamina by being able to digest very efficiently, to do this frequently and for a long time without needing to constantly eat. And finally, to answer this question of should we be having children, Srimad Bhagavatam, the graduate study to Bhagavad Gita, answers this. One should not become a father, a mother, a teacher, or a member of government unless one is able to elevate one's dependence to the platform of spiritual knowledge. So, should we be having children? Yes, if we can teach them these things and create humans that can improve the world. But if we can't do that, if we're just ignorant, murderous humans, then no, absolutely don't have children. Don't add to the problem. Depending on our consciousness and ability to improve the world, we should either have children or not. So, thank you very much. Any questions?